What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about something pretty massive, and it's that this game here killed the developers of the game. So we knew they were working on a second Lord of the Rings game, and I actually would be very interested to see what that game would turn out to be. Now, the report is it was started in mid-2022, so if in an alternate universe this did not happen, you're still looking at 2-3 more years until that game comes out. So it probably wouldn't have happened maybe anyway, but this game, because of obviously the quality, the reception, I assume also the sales. I mean, look, you can clown on a game all day long and the game can be awful. If the game goes on to randomly sell millions of copies, maybe you can save the studio because you're going to make money from that, right? But nope, that did not happen. So they're canceling their other game. They're also not being developers anymore. They're just being publishers, and they did lay off some of their staff. That is the short of it. I want to throw in one extra kind of side thing as well that I've been seeing online. I feel like it's a more touchy thing with this because it's about who to put the blame on. And that is a touchy subject because I think what's common nowadays is that nobody ever needs to accept responsibility for what they put out into the world. Now, I do think I come at it with a slightly different angle. Being like a content creator, you see things on people that say, okay, when you post a tweet or when you post a YouTube video, right? It's like, well, you know, are you allowed to criticize? You allowed to kind of go after the person? Well, it depends on, I suppose, it depends on what it is. Are you threatening them? Are you harassing them? Are you just telling them that it was a bad job or that you disagree? Like, what the person is doing? But also, you could argue what people say all the time online, like, you know, if you put something out into the world, if you have an opinion, well, other people are allowed to have opinions on your opinion. If you don't want that, then you just don't say your opinion out loud, right? That's honestly probably true. That is actually how things work. So it probably is the same thing for games. Like, you make a game, you put the game out into the world. Now, is every single thing like one person's fault, or who do you put the blame on? Well, a couple things to note. Number one, yeah, a lot of decision making comes from the top. So a lot of the average Joe developers on Gollum, you know, what are they responsible for? However, this is where it gets touchy. The game is terrible, right? And now I haven't played it, so I guess, all right, take it with a grain of salt, because I'm sure there could be one person that says, well, if you didn't play it, I know we've seen all this stuff about the game. I've watched all these reviews. I've watched the game. I know how bad it looks, but because I didn't play it, I'm not allowed to have an opinion on it. Again, that's what people will say. But, okay, no, the game is, like, legitimately awful by the looks of it, and maybe some people like it, but I think it's fair to say the vast majority do not like it. You have to put that blame on something, right? And so you could say, well, you know, because I've seen this online, and you see it for Redfall, you see it for other things as well. I get, again, you can't lump everything onto like one person or even everything on the entire development staff, because there could be decision making or whatever that's not their fault. Could be a timed thing where they wanted more years to make this game and they didn't get it. But I mean, what we sincerely have here is one of the worst games ever created, and probably the worst game created in the last 5, 6, 7 years. It is insane how much lower than the industry standards this game is versus anything else. It's insane. And so you have, like, who made that? The workers. So I'm not saying they deserve to be laid off. Maybe like extra training. Maybe they do something else. In fact, that is what the company is doing. They're now being a publisher instead of a developer. But the idea, because again, like I've seen online, it's ticked me off. The idea that you can't criticize or you can't like say, well, the game is awful. So I mean, those who worked on the game, like it's kind of their fault. Like, who else? Did somebody else make the game? Now, again, like, did they make this game in like a year? Well, no, not really. This game's actually been in development for a very long time. It was delayed multiple times. It was delayed for years. So, like, they had time to do it. I just don't think they were up to the talent necessary to make it. You could argue the same thing for Saints Row, Redfall. Redfall, we know a lot of decision-making came from the top, and people weren't really used to making that kind of game, and they lost so much of their staff and had it replaced. We know a lot of stuff happened there, right? But still, like, people made these things. You got to put the blame somewhere. And so I feel like, yeah, it's a touchy subject, and maybe it gets people in trouble. Like, you do have to blame the developers of the game. If this game was being made for like 3-4 years and they actually thought that this thing was good, Well, who made it? It's the developers, and so they should be blamed for it. Now, that's not harassing or threatening or hoping like the most evil things happen to these people. It's just simply putting blame where it needs to. You make a mistake in life, you blame somebody else, you say nobody's to blame, or do you take the blame, right? It's something like that. But we're living in a society where it's nobody's fault, never, and if it is somebody's fault, it has to be like the executive's fault. Yeah, they make decisions, and I'm sure they hurt this game in some way as well. But I don't think the suited executives at the top, I don't think they spend every day working on this abomination. That's not them. So you can't really blame them for that part. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.